It was a Thursday afternoon. One of those uneventful days where everything feels routine. I had just finished folding the laundry and was pouring myself a cup of tea when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I glanced at the screen, a message from Kim Patterson, a friend I hadn't spoken to in over a year. "Hey Kath, this is random but important. I work at Sentinel Insurance now, and your name came up in our system today. 3 active life insurance policies with your husband as the beneficiary. Did you know about this?" The cup in my hand clattered against the granite countertop. I barely registered the burn of the spilled tea on my hand as I read the message again. 3 life insurance policies? Under my name? I froze. Aaron, my husband of just under 2 years, had never once mentioned any policy in my name. And to have 3? All with him as the only beneficiary? Something was wrong. The first time I met Aaron, he seemed too good to be true. Handsome, charming, polite, he remembered my coffee order by our second date and always held doors open for me. We had a whirlwind romance, married after just 10 months. Friends told me it was fast, but I was swept away. He was the guy who cooked me breakfast every Sunday, packed my lunch, and surprised me with flowers at work. He seemed like the kind of man who would protect me, cherish me. Now I was shaking, trying to steady my fingers enough to call Kim. "Kim, hey. I just saw your message," I said breathlessly. "Kathy, are you okay?" she asked. I debated whether to say anything, but it felt wrong to ignore it. "No, you did the right thing," I whispered. "Can you tell me more?" She lowered her voice. 3 separate policies, Kathy. 1 from Sentinel, 2 from different companies. We have access to records from filed over the last 18 months. I'll say you agreed, but the signatures don't look like your handwriting. And Aaron is listed as the sole beneficiary on all 3. I sat down on the kitchen stool, numb. I never signed anything. I didn't even know he applied for life insurance for me. Kim hesitated. "Kathy, are you safe?" That question pierced deeper than I wanted to admit. I thought I was. But now I wasn't so sure. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan whirring slowly above us. Aaron was fast asleep beside me, breathing steadily, peacefully. I turned to look at him, silhouetted in the moonlight. This man, my husband, had possibly forged my signature to insure my life for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But why? Unless he expected me to die. Or worse, planned for it. Suddenly, all the oddities, all the moments I'd brushed off, came rushing back like a flood. The constant fatigue. The way my hair had thinned noticeably over the past 6 months. The gut pain I'd attributed to stress. The fact that Aaron insisted on preparing all my meals, even when I offered to help. The chalky smoothies. The occasional bitterness in my evening tea. How I had begun to forget small things, my keys, my train of thought mid-sentence. How Aaron would laugh and say, "You're getting old already, Kathy," like it was a joke. It wasn't a joke anymore. And then there were the doctor visits, how the tests always came back clean. I'd leave with vitamins and vague suggestions to get more rest. Aaron would reassure me that it was all in my head. But now I began to wonder, was he somehow manipulating those outcomes too? I needed clarity. And I needed help, real help. The next morning, I called in sick from work and drove across town to a coffee shop where no one would recognize me. I brought my laptop and started Googling private investigators. That's where I found George Mason, former NYPD detective turned PI. His website was blunt and professional. "If your gut says something's wrong, let me find out the truth." I sent an inquiry. By 3 p.m., he called me. "Mrs. Jennings," his voice was gravelly but calm. "You say your husband has several life insurance policies under your name and your health's been deteriorating. You ever thought he might be hurting you?" The words were too real. I swallowed hard. "Yes," I whispered. "And I think he's been poisoning me." George didn't hesitate. We meet tomorrow. My office. Bring whatever you have. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. I lay in the guest room with the door locked, listening to every creak in the floorboards, wondering if Aaron knew I knew. I had no proof yet, but my instincts screamed the truth. Something was very wrong in my marriage. George Mason's office wasn't flashy. Tucked above a bakery downtown, it smelled faintly of old paper and burnt coffee. But something about it felt safe, maybe because he didn't speak to me like I was crazy. He listened. I handed him a folder with what little I had, Kim's screenshots from the insurance database, a few documents I'd stolen glances at in Aaron's study when he wasn't around, and my own medical records, which showed an odd but consistent decline in my health since the wedding. George flipped through it all, nodding slowly. "You're not imagining this," he said. "These policy applications are sloppy, a forged signature's one thing, but doing it across multiple providers? That's greed. That's confidence he won't get caught. It makes him dangerous." I felt cold at the word dangerous. George outlined the plan: install hidden cameras in the kitchen and bedroom to monitor what Aaron was putting into my food or tea. Have my blood and urine privately tested for toxins, beyond what the usual doctors screened for. Track Aaron's movements and finances, especially interactions with insurance agents, banks, or any suspicious communications. Go through the garbage. It felt absurd, but George said you'd be shocked what people throw out when they think no one's looking. For the next few weeks, I lived in a quiet state of panic. I played the doting wife by day, careful not to show suspicion. By night, I'd meet George or exchange encrypted messages with him. Then, the first crack appeared. The private lab results came in: trace amounts of thallium, a heavy metal often used in rat poison, and undetectable in small doses by standard medical tests, had been building up in my bloodstream. George stared at the results grimly. "He's poisoning you. Slowly. Intentionally." I could barely breathe. The blood drained from my face. "How long before?" "If you hadn't caught this, maybe another few months," he said flatly. "Maybe less." Tears burned my eyes. I thought of all the times I had thanked him for taking care of me. For making my tea. For loving me. George placed a hand over mine. "You were never supposed to live past the second policy's payout date. The third was greedy insurance." A week later, George had more. "Your husband has been in contact with a woman named Michelle Dawes, claims she's his cousin, but we've confirmed she's not related. Phone calls, emails, bank transfers. He's funneled about $30,000 to her over the last year." I blinked. "Who is she?" "An ex. Or current lover. She lives 2 towns over. The same address where a recent package was delivered under your name from a pharmacy." My hands shook. "Wait, he's sending my prescription drugs to someone else?" George nodded. "Looks like he's testing dosages. Michelle may not know the full story, but she's part of the scheme." The security cameras told another story entirely. Aaron was careful. He always turned his back to the kitchen cameras when he made my tea. But he didn't realize one angle caught him adding something from a tiny bottle to my mug. When George slowed the footage down, zoomed in, we saw the label on the bottle: thal. Sulfate. A chemical compound of thallium. We had our smoking gun. But what George said next shook me even deeper. "Kathy. The most chilling part isn't that he's trying to kill you. It's how calm and methodical he is. No panic. No emotion. Like he's done this before or planned it for years." My stomach turned. "What do we do?" George looked me in the eye. "We make him think it's working while we gather every last piece of evidence. Then we take him down." I nodded. But deep inside, a voice screamed, how could I have loved this man? Slept beside him? The answer terrified me. Because monsters don't wear masks. They wear wedding rings. The hardest part of playing along was smiling. Every time Aaron kissed me good morning or poured my tea, I had to act grateful, as if I wasn't watching him try to murder me, one sugar cube at a time. George and I worked on a meticulous plan. We couldn't go straight to the police yet, not without airtight proof and a strategy to protect me once Aaron realized I knew. Men like him? When their control slips, they snap. So, I played the role. I started writing a fake journal, one Aaron might find. In it, I wrote entries about how sick I felt but how much I adored him. How lucky I was to have a husband who cared. I planted phrases like if anything happens to me, it would break Aaron. It was bait, designed to make him feel untouchable. And then we sprung the trap. One evening, I told Aaron I was going to visit my sister across state lines. I kissed him goodbye and left with a single bag, just what I needed to sell the story. But I didn't go to my sister's. I checked into a secure hotel George arranged. That night, George and his tech team accessed my house and replaced my hidden cameras with higher resolution ones and a live feed. We watched. Aaron didn't even wait 24 hours. The next morning, he called Michelle over. I sat in the hotel room, hands shaking as I watched the footage. Michelle entered in yoga pants, holding coffee. They kissed. Like they did this often. Then came the words that sealed it, she's gotten weaker. One more week and we file the claim. Michelle looked around and said, are you sure it's safe? Aaron laughed. She's too dumb to know. And the idiot doctors think it's autoimmune. They toasted. To my death. I felt sick. But I was also done being afraid. With evidence in hand, the tampered tea, video confession, insurance documentation, and toxicology reports, George contacted the authorities. But not just the local cops. He called in the FBI and state insurance fraud investigators. By the time they arrived, I was calm. I sat in a conference room with them, laying out the whole timeline, how I met Aaron, when the illnesses started, Kim's revelation about the insurance policies, and George's investigation. The agents nodded. They'd seen cases like this before, but rarely ones where the victim survived long enough to expose it. We let the arrest happen during dinner. I wasn't there, but I watched the live stream as Aaron was dragged from the dining table, fork still in hand. Michelle screamed. Aaron looked confused for a second, then turned furious. The moment they read him the charges, attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit homicide, he knew. And when he saw the footage, his face turned ghostly. He asked for a lawyer. Michelle, meanwhile, broke down entirely. She tried to claim she didn't know, but texts and wire transfers painted a different story. They were both taken into custody. They say prison changes a man. I wasn't sure what I expected walking into that sterile, gray visitor's room. But one thing was clear the moment Aaron stepped in, he hadn't changed, not one bit. His orange jumpsuit was neatly ironed, his posture smug, his eyes sharp with the same condescension I'd once mistaken for charm. For a second, he almost looked like the man I married. But then he spoke. You finally came. Thought you'd be too busy playing hero. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him, carefully. Let him talk. That was always his weakness, his mouth. They've twisted it, you know. What happened to you wasn't poison. You had a weak immune system. I tried to help. Michelle? She's just collateral damage, you know how she is. But you. Kathy, we were something. The delusion was astonishing. Almost impressive. You seriously want me to believe the multiple policies you took out in my name were to help me? He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. You were getting sick. I didn't know how long you had. I thought. At least I could leave something behind. A legacy. I laughed. It startled him. Because this time, it wasn't nervous or confused or hurt. It was strong. Sure. Done. Aaron, I've seen narcissists before. But watching you sit there and pretend you were trying to save me by slowly killing me? That's a new level of pathetic. He dropped the act for a moment. The smile twisted. You really think people will buy your version of the story forever? Public sympathy fades, Kathy. People forget. But me? I always land on my feet. You'll come crawling back eventually. I stood up. No, Aaron. You don't get it. I'm not here for you. I'm here to tell you that you lost. You don't get the last word. You don't get to control the narrative. Not in court. Not in my life. Not anymore. He smirked again. Arrogant to the last breath. We'll see. You've always been emotional. That's your weakness. I walked to the door and turned around just once more. And your weakness has always been underestimating me. Then I left. For the last time. I used to believe survival meant waking up another day. But now I know better. Freedom isn't just waking up, it's waking up without fear. Without second-guessing every cup of tea or every fake smile. It's not just breathing, it's living, really living, without the shadow of someone else's control hanging over you. Aaron thought he had the perfect plan. But his fatal mistake? He thought I'd never fight back. But I did. And I won.